Emissions. This afternoon from 3 on Talk Radio.
Online and on DAB. Saturday Breakfast with Penny Smith.
On Talk Radio. We'll get you talking.
It's the big debate. It's the ketchup debate. Asda has started stocking ketchup in the fridge section. Is that a good idea? When was it ever a thing? To chill or not to chill, Hannah Thorogood is from the Inkpot permaculture farm. Good morning to you, Hannah.
Good morning, Penny.
Now, I generally keep lots of stuff out of the fridge. That's partly because I have a very small fridge, but also because I'm a bit more haphazard in these sort of things. And I just think if it says that it's if it says it's okay out of the fridge, it's out the fridge.
Great.
Yeah. But,
yeah,
and you haven't had a fridge for 9 years.
No, we haven't. Our family hasn't had one for 9 years. I don't think my kids have ever had a fridge really in their life other than when they were babies.
Now, I can only assume that you either have a very cold kitchen or you have somewhere to store all this.
No, actually, it's just a different way of looking at food. I think it's part of a bigger picture of looking at how much food do we have knocking around in our kitchens that we're actually just about to eat, or how tied in are we with the food that we have from where we're sourcing it to how we're eating it to how we're storing it. And I think it's very tied in with the kind of the bigger waste issue that we have around food and the kind of disposable nature that we have. So how we work it in our kitchen is we really just have the food that we're intending to be eating that day or the next few days. And it's not that I sit around planning food all the time. I'm a busy single parent, solo farmer. I've got a busy life.
But that would mean that you'd have to do lots of shopping though, because there are certain things. No, absolutely. I don't use the supermarkets at all, and I'm not. This isn't. I'm like, oh, I'm so perfect on all of this stuff. It's that it's really getting kind of control over our own food sources, and so I do think of permaculture. We look at things. One of the aspects of permaculture is really planning things ahead and really designing what we want to do, what we want to get out of a system, and so one of the things that we look at is growing our own food, if you've got the potential to grow your own food. And really, I've grown my own food when I've lived in very, very small spaces. And so what I did quite a few years ago was I looked at what I had in the fridge. And so actually loads of this stuff doesn't need to be in the fridge. In fact, it's often got a better flavour and is just a nicer texture when it's not in the fridge. So stuff like fruit, veg, eggs, cheese, butter, these things are better off out of the fridge. And what I realised actually is when I started looking in my friends' fridges, sorry friends, was a lot of the stuff that's in the fridge is actually the kind of stuff that's a bit rubbish, like the kind of food that comes in lots of packaging that's not actually any good for us. It's often highly processed. It's not good for the environment with all of that packaging either. And started thinking, okay, I'm going to start cooking more of my food from raw ingredients. And so we grow some of our own food. I've gone back to things like getting milk from the milkman, so I'm supporting a nice local business that way and having a more direct link with my food. And we have chickens, so we have our own eggs. We've got a fresh supply of eggs. But it's also doing things of like just cutting the supermarkets out of the system. I think, I don't know if any of your listeners identify with this, but that kind of going to the supermarket once a week and filling your trolley full of all the stuff that's on special offers, it just, I noticed that it was pulling me into spending a lot of money on stuff that was ending up in the bin. And you see, that is a problem, though, when they do 2 for 1. Or two that are
absolutely.
so much, or if you do 2 packets of whatever it is.
Yeah.
I mean, ended up buying 2 packets of, I think it was something like 15 Satsumas. I'm full up on vitamin C. I tell you what, I just sort of raced through them. But it was ridiculous. It was only about 20p extra to buy another packet. So of course I bought another packet.
Well, yeah, but these things, when you look at them and they all start adding up, you realise actually, although it seems like a good deal, you're only saving money if you intended to go and buy those things anyway, or if you needed to buy those things. And so it's really coming back to going, it's doing all the things that our grandmothers did and our mums did, going into the shop if you're going to go in with an actual list and planning the week ahead of what meals are we going to eat this week and then what ingredients do we need. But I mean, it links into this thing about the vegetable scarcity and rationing vegetables and fruit and veg that the supermarkets have on their shelves at the moment, because we've disconnected with our food sources. And so people wanting to get hold of iceberg lettuce in the middle of winter. You know, we don't have a vegetable shortage. We have fantastic British-grown vegetables in this country. It's, you know,
there's a cornucopia of carrots going on at the moment. Lots of carrots.
Absolutely. And look at kale. I mean, kale is just so good for you. So many people want it in our green smoothies and things. So to be buying that at this time of year, or to be growing it yourself, it's one of the best ways to really understand where your food's coming from. Is even the smallest space in a garden or on a windowsill, you can grow cut and come again.
I can't tell you what, Hannah. There is no way that I could grow enough veg to keep me in veg. I eat industrial quantities every single day.
So in small spaces, one of the things that you can really do is look at what are the things that you spend most money on. And I think people like Alice Fowler are very good at this, and realising that she was spending a lot of money on salads. And in a small basin, you know, a small old container, an old sink or something, you can grow what you call a cut and come again salad, and have fresh salads throughout the year, even in the depths of winter, in the smallest of spaces, and save you pounds every day if you're a big salad eater, or the same with your green smoothies.
You know, salads don't excite me. No, I'm all about cabbage and Brussels sprouts and prawns, and maybe I could have a small prawn farm in a sink somewhere.
Actually, funnily enough, there's a thing called aquaculture that you can have in a very small space. It's just a few water containers. People have them in this country in greenhouses and in their small backyards where you can grow your own fish. Much more sustainable supply than when you're getting it from big trawlers in the North Sea. So
I'm loving that. I'm going to investigate that. When you talk about what you keep out of the fridge, because obviously you don't have a fridge, but when you talk about butter, I think a lot of people, many people don't have huge places to live. We're more and more living in cities. Our flats tend to be warmer. Often we have a kitchen diner, sometimes kitchen diner stroke sitting room stroke every other room. And that means that you can't really have the butter out all the time, because unless you want a soupy mess.
It is all relative as to how warm your house is. I do have friends that would put on an extra layer when they come to our house, but we do have, we have a lovely big wood-fired range in our kitchen, so our kitchen's not a cold place. And we have the butter out, we have the milk out. And it's just realising how much our family or your household is going to use within the next few days, and really getting much more in balance with the food that you're eating, in terms of going, okay, I know this bottle of milk will last us 2 days. And so that won't go off in 2 days at room temperature in our kitchen. And actually, it's nicer to drink than I think, especially than ice cold milk. And the same with the butter. Nice soft butter to spread on your toast.
Yes, as long as it's not too liquidy. Eggs, apparently, the NHS advises that they are best stored in the fridge because they need to be kept constant. No, don't cough. That is NHS advice. Avocados, well, you'd leave them out, surely, avocados, otherwise they won't get ripe.
Absolutely.
Bananas, well, comes a point when you have to put them in the fridge, otherwise you just have so many fruit flies hanging about your bowl.
I don't find that at all.
Well, maybe all the fruit flies are living around my gaff. Ketchup, obviously, out.
There is this thing, and I don't want to fly in the face of any kind of official health and safety advice. However, I think there's a lot of common sense that's missing now about our food culture, and I think there's a lot of fear around food. That I see a lot of food being thrown away because simply it's gone past a pretty nominal sell-by date, and going back to kind of the food knowledge and confidence that our parents and grandparents had, where, you'd give it a sniff, you'd give it a try, see,
Your nose is there for a very good reason, isn't it? I'm a great fan of just making endless soups with leftovers. And you can put anything in there, including, I made a lovely soup the other day, which was pickled red cabbage, which I put in the soup because it was
lovely,
been in there for a while. Do you know what? Yeah, I just had to put a little bit of honey in the soup to take the edge off the pickling part.
Great.
And it was an 8-year-old child who was always very fussy said it was the best soup that I'd ever ate.
Well,
I know. You see, that's when you know that you're being successful.
Totally, they're the harshest food critics.
Yeah, but people do worry, Hannah, and that is what you've touched on there. And people worry that, and they say, oh yeah, it's all very well and good for you to say that, but if you saw my aging granny or my child being ill and vomiting, then you would feel terrible.
Absolutely, and I'm not telling anybody else that they shouldn't have a fridge or that they should get rid of their fridge. I would just invite anybody to actually question the things that that we're doing automatically or doing because somebody else is telling us we should do it this way. I think there can be a lot of freedom in looking at what you're using throughout your whole kitchen or throughout your whole household, within your garden, and saying, actually, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? Am I doing this because I need to do this, or because I've been told this is what I should do? And
Hannah, there is one thing I've just suddenly had a thought. You need a fridge for cold lager, a nice cold beer on a hot day.
Yeah, and potentially I'll be with you on that one. But there is often, a cold nook in a house, or we have the east side of our house is where we come in. So our milk goes out in warm weather out on the east side of the house. It doesn't see the sun. It stays nice and cool. At Christmas, when you end up with far too much food than you ever realised that you ever needed, it goes out in the outside of the house in a plastic box.
And do the foxes love it?
They never get access to it. They don't get a look in. They don't get a chance. but how the chickens do benefit from our food system that we have. So it's really looking at an integrated food system from the source of the food, really looking at our ethical choices about where are we getting the food from, the seasonality of the food miles, those kind of things, maybe the pesticides and the chemicals that are involved in the growing and storing of the food, through to how we use it, how we eat it, who are we eating our food with, are we sitting down in front of the telly, are we sitting with our family, what are we doing about this, to then the food waste and going, okay, what are we wasting as a family each week? How much money are we throwing in the bin? But also,
how much money could we save? And I suppose looking back, The Good Life. Do you remember that series?
Absolutely, I loved it.
Yeah, and you were on the side of Tom and Barbara, weren't you, obviously?
Totally. They're my heroes. They're my idols.
Hannah, thank you very much
You're
for
welcome.
talking to me this morning. That's Hannah Thorogood from the Inkpot Permaculture.